Residents of Bryanston and other areas surrounding here in Johannesburg who've been without water for almost 48 hours now will most likely get supply back within the next 5 to 6 hours. That's according to Rand Water's latest Twitter update. Now, let's focus on one of our lead stories. Riah Phiyega saying she's considering taking legal action. Earlier this week, the Police Minister, Nathi Nhleko, released 2 reports that found Phiyega guilty of fraud, perjury and misconduct. But Phiyega says the authors of the reports never consulted her in order to hear her side of the story. The National Police Commissioner, who was suspended recently, is joining us now in the studio. Commissioner, good morning and thanks for your time. Not an easy time at all for you, and especially in the aftermath of these reports. I've had a quick look at the media statement that you have issued. You talk about damage to your reputation. You refer to the whole process as resembling that of a kangaroo court. How are you feeling right now?
Then I must say I feel very challenged, in a sense that when you read from the press, you watch television, and all these huge damning accusations are being made of you, and you know that you haven't been given an opportunity to present yourself to those type of hearings, it's got to be challenging. I mean, even criminals are called to court, given a chance to present their side of the story, so that a just, fair, and objective jury can sit there and make a decision. Why
do you think you were not consulted in this process? You were not given that opportunity to state your side of the story?
I'm not sure, Vuyo, because indeed, if it's an inquiry or an investigation or a research of anything, I should have been approached to say, the following issues you've been charged on. Come and present yourself. Right at the beginning, when this reference group was announced, we had some engagements where I wrote to the minister, I asked particular questions about the reference group. I asked to get some bit of detail about the broad areas that are being investigated upon, but such was never made available to us. But I had thought when I am invited at some point, I'd be able to talk about these issues. But then you wake up one morning, there is this huge report that talks about you being guilty of perjury.
So you were not even aware that the report had been completed and it will be released to the media?
I was not aware, and even now I don't have it.
Now, how are you going to take legal action against a report that you didn't make an input into and that you haven't even seen up to now? What are your plans here?
The plan, first and foremost, is to use whatever is available in the public space, to start preparing our legal documents, to write to the authorities, to ask for that report, because if indeed I'm going to be criminally charged on those, I have a right as a citizen to be prepared with those documents. So my lawyers are busy with that process. The same one, at least the one in Parliament. You know, once matters have been aired, you can go to the Hansard and be able to source that. My lawyers have done so, and we have written letters to deal with those type of issues, because indeed I should have been called also, because if they're indicting me, they can't indict me without talking to me.
One of the statements that sort of came out of this, I don't want to go deep into the reports because I haven't read the reports myself, was a suggestion that you lied to Parliament. There was a suggestion that you protected certain individuals. You acted preemptively on certain individuals. Just looking at Paul and your behavior and running the police department, do you do any wrong? Is that what you think you did anything wrong?
Look, first and foremost is those issues that are being raised. This is precisely my point to say, if you are saying I did certain things, call me. Let me respond to those, so that when you make your judgment, it's well and considered. You've listened to everybody, and everybody have presented themselves. On the issue of making mistakes, there is no one who's absolute. In my career, since I started working 30 years ago, I think there are myriad mistakes that I've made. My attitude towards mistakes is that mistakes are learning points. I have committed many mistakes. I've committed mistakes in the police, but we've learned from those. And we have used those such platforms to change the way we do things. I see, for instance, in this report that the minister released, he refers to the appointment of the police commissioner in Gauteng. When we realize the mistakes that we have committed, we've changed our whole process on how we verify, the qualifications, crime position of any other individual. We've changed our system of doing things. And I would like to say, where I've made mistakes, of course, any person makes mistakes, and I learn from them, and I'll embrace those.
You were in the seat of police commissioner for a very short while before we had the Marikana massacre happening. And then after that, there were many other incidents. When you look back at that time for you, did you act according to the mandate that you were given as the police commissioner? Are you clear in your conscience that you did everything according to the book?
You see, that process, one is truly grateful for, because the president established a commission of inquiry. It took about 2 to 3 years, 2.5 years, to look into many things. A report has been produced with findings, and an inquiry coming out of those findings is being set up. I'm truly grateful for that, because I think it's an opportunity for me to be able to deal with the allegations that are sitting there. And for me, it's an example of how these type of things are done. So when I compare the 3 reports, and I look at what the president has done with the Marikana report, I'm saying we have a leaf to take out of the book of how the president has handled this one. And this is why I feel very strong that with these 2 reports that, omits very simple, practical, legal principles, natural justice, audi alteram partem, I should have been called to do so. And I'm truly grateful for that process. And I know that in that inquiry, I'll have an opportunity to again answer to those areas that the Falam Commission still found question marks on. And I'm preparing myself for that. Your
fitness to hold office has been called into question. Hence, there's a presidential inquiry into that. Do you think you're fit for the role?
I am going to answer that in the commission. And I hope that once and for all, what I say will not just be my words to say, I think I'm fit for the office. Somebody else who's got the jurisdictional competence will be able to also say, yes, she is, no, she's not.
I know that in your past life, in your career, you've worked in companies, you've worked in corporate, you've done a lot of work in management and stuff, and I think you came from that private sector. You've done a lot of work in management consulting. When you took this job, and you look back now, do you regret having taken this job?
I regret not an inch of any time that I took up this job. And I understood precisely, the requirements of me in terms of doing the work that we're doing. And I want to tell you, the police service is doing well. And one of the areas that we focused on was to improve the governance of police in the administration, the management of the service. And I'm not saying so myself. If you go and look at the MPET outcomes, the management performance assessment tool that is monitored by the Monitoring and Evaluation Department of the presidency. When I came to SAPS was sitting at position 27. They leaped to position 12. This year, as I tell you, we've been nominated as one of those departments that a case study is being run on by the School of Governance at Wits, because they were looking at the progress we've achieved as a team in the police to do work. Whilst there are many things that are being said in the press, I want to say the police are working extremely hard.
Do you think there's somebody who out to get you, or do you think there's some agenda?
I don't want to put it in those words, but I would want to say, indeed, over time, I have noticed that a very serious negative media campaign has been run on myself and other leaders in the police. And I think the good work that is being done by the police has very little space in terms of airtime, in terms of people being able to hear how hard the police are working. Are there challenges? Of course, there are challenges, and we continue to grapple with those as a leadership in the police. And I admire the police, absolutely. They work very, very, very hard, 24/7. And they do make mistakes. We make mistakes, but we deal with those. And I also appreciate, the community. I'm seeing traction developing in terms of the police community engagement. And to the colleagues that I have out there, I just want to say I'm truly appreciative of the work that we've done. As to whether these agendas and whatever continue, looks like it's been culture of the police. We have to navigate through that. We must create a new culture that starts saying, it's not about what I call it should have been me syndrome. We can't all be national commissioners.
Thank you very much, Riah. We'll have to leave you there. Thanks for your time. That's the suspended National Police Commissioner, Riah Phiyega, coming after break.